Guillermo del Toro, I think, has established himself as one of those directors who just on style alone, you can tell who you are watching. He's a full-time architect, and nearly every one of his movies feels like it was carved straight out of his heart. Del Toro doesn't just show us monsters, he understands them, gives them pain, purpose, and sometimes better personalities than the humans around them. His words are equal parts gothic nightmare and bedtime story, stitched together with a kind of sincerity you won't often see in modern cinema. Across his filmography, Del Toro has built an empire of wonder and dread, from his creepy Spanish-language beginnings to his massive Oscar-winning fantasies. And whether you're there for the ghost, the gore, or the heartfelt poetry hiding under all that slime, there's one thing for sure. Guillermo del Toro's filmography isn't just one of the most unique in modern cinema, it is one of the most human. Today, we will be diving into clockwork horror, worn-torn fairy tales, and ranking them all. Some are masterpieces of visual poetry, others beautiful misfires dripping with ambition. But all of them bear that same unmistakable signature: heart wrapped in horror, tragedy wrapped in beauty. And now, after all that poetic gushing about Del Toro's genius, the man who can make ghosts cry and fishmen fall in love, we begin with Pacific Rim. Yeah, this one hurts, because on paper, this should have been the Guillermo del Toro movie. Giant robots punching monsters, big-scale fantasy, Idris Elba screaming about canceling the apocalypse. It's basically tailor-made for his love of creatures, craftsmanship, and melodrama. I went in expecting a cinematic revelation, a religious experience conducted in the Church of Kaiju, and instead I got a movie that feels like a toy commercial directed by Adam Wingard. I heard stories about how the second one was such a criminal offense on sequels and how it ruined everything the first one did, that the first one is so much better in every single way, and I'm here to tell you that they both suck ass. They're both garbage movies that aren't good, and it's crazy that people like these movies. Don't get me wrong. Visually, it's phenomenal. The monsters and mech designs are jaw-dropping, the colored palette is deliciously saturated, and the VFX team clearly earned their paychecks, but beyond that, it feels hollow. It's one of the Del Toro films that doesn't feel like Del Toro. There's no heart, no warmth, no tragedy simmering underneath the spectacle. It's all surface, all metal and neon, no soul. The human characters are flatter than, I don't know, your fucking sister or whatever. The script feels like it was written by a boardroom, and the emotional beats just don't beat the right way. Kindly go fuck yourself.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Okay, so Mimic isn't bad, it's just fine. Painfully fine. You can see the flashes of Del Toro's vision buried under the studio interference and late 90s genre cliches. Like a cool monster movie desperately trying to claw its way out of a very boring shell. The concepts itself, genuinely solid, genetically engineered cockroaches evolving to mimic humans. It's such a Del Toro premise, it hurts. You can tell this should have been a dark, moody body horror masterpiece about mankind's arrogance and the nature's revenge. Instead, it just kind of lurches around like one of its own mutated bugs, technically alive, but not exactly graceful. That said, Mimic looks fantastic in places. The practical effects are gooey and gross, all in the best ways. There's that tactical, grimy nature that reminds you, oh right, this is the guy who would go on to make Pan's Labyrinth. There are moments where the lighting, the atmosphere, the sound design, it all clicks. But just as quickly, it drags back into the generic thriller territory. It's serviceful, occasionally stylish, but ultimately forgettable. Like you won't regret rewatching it, you just might forget that you did. Still, credit where it's due, those bugs look amazing. Now this is where things start getting interesting. The Devil's Backbone feels like Del Toro finally stepping into his groove. A ghost story that isn't really about ghosts, but about the ones wars leave behind. The atmosphere here is rich enough to drown in. Dusty orphanages, flickering candlelight, the constant hum of tragedy in the air. It's beautifully shot, deeply emotional, and absolutely dripping in the melancholy themes that would later define Del Toro's career. Loss, innocence, war, and the terrible ways they intervene. You can feel his confidence growing, his visual language starting to click into place. That said, it's still a little rough around the edges. The pacing stumbles here and there, some scenes linger longer than they probably should, and the story sometimes feels more entranced by its mood than its momentum. It's haunting, yes, but occasionally so haunting it forgets to move. Still, it's a big step up in tone control compared to Cronos and Mimic. There's a real maturity here, a refinement of vision. You can tell Del Toro's getting closer to that perfect blend of horror and heartbreak, even if, at this point, it's a little more sketch than masterpiece. Of all Del Toro's films, Pinocchio is probably his lightest. Well, besides Pacific Rim. This version of Pinocchio is beautiful, focused, and surprisingly tight for a story about a wooden child repeatedly breaking his father's heart. The stop motion is jaw-dropping. Every frame is handcrafted, alive with texture and weight, the kind of animation you feel in your fingertips. And thematically, it's still Del Toro through and through. You know, death, obedience, fascism, all that fun bedtime story stuff. But here's the thing. Narratively, this might be his weakest, and I don't think that's entirely his fault. The story of Pinocchio has always been kind of weirdly structured. It's less a flowing narrative and more a series of life lessons, but make it trauma. Del Toro and Patrick Mahale do their best to make it coherent, but even their intelligence and emotional depth can't completely smooth over the bumps of the source material. And while I love that he brought stop motion back into the spotlight, the medium itself feels like it's being pigeonholed lately. Not dying, just stagnating. For every Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Memoir of a Snail, Mad God, we get A Vengeance Most Foul, or another Leica project that looks gorgeous but plays it safe. Pinocchio sits somewhere in the middle, stunning to behold, thematically rich, but emotionally a bit uneven. It's Del Toro proving he can make something accessible without selling his soul. I just wish he did it a little harder. Cronos, the movie that started it all. Guillermo del Toro's debut. His first cinematic creature baby thing. And honestly, pretty impressive one. Right out the gate, he's blending gothic beauty, melancholy, and grotesque fascination like it's second nature. It's a vampire story without really being a vampire story, soaked in that religious, decaying elegance that would later become his signature. The atmosphere is thick enough to bottle, the design work is stunning, and even this early on, Del Toro directs like someone who's already spent several lifetimes haunting film school basements. You can see the filmmaker he'd grow into, all the motifs, the obsessions, the gears literally turning. That said, it's a slow burn. Like, maybe check your watch, then feel bad for checking your watch slow burn. It's haunting and poetic, yes, but also the kind of film that takes its time, and then takes a little more of it. There are stretches where you feel less captivated and more politely waiting for something to happen. Still, for a first feature, it's remarkably assured, confident, weirdly tender, and already obsessed with mortality and transformation in that unmistakable Del Toro way. You can tell he wasn't just making a horror film, he was making a statement. I'm Guillermo del Toro, and I like my monsters sad. The story might not hit quite as hard emotionally as the original, but Hellboy 2: The Golden Army is still packed to the brim with heart, humor, and pure imagination. It's Del Toro cutting loose. Every creature, every set, every frame looks like it wandered straight out of a fever dream he had after reading too many folklore books. The chemistry between the cast is as effortless as ever, especially Ron Perlman. It is that rare sequel that doesn't just copy what worked before, but expands the universe into something richer, weirder, and more visually hypnotic. If the first Hellboy was Del Toro proving he could make a great comic book movie, Golden Army is him proving he could make his comic book movie. Unapologetically ornate, brimming with empathy for its monsters, and bursting with mythological flair. It's playful and operatic at the same time. A fantasy adventure that manages to balance epic spectacle with genuine warmth. Sure, it's not perfect, the emotional beats don't quite land as sharply, and it sometimes favors spectacle over soul, but even then, it's still endlessly rewatchable. This is Del Toro in full imagination mode, the kind of movie that reminds you what blockbusters could look like if studios just, let artists be weird. Blade 2 isn't quite as sharp or iconic as the original. It's kind of like a running theme, but it delivers exactly what a sequel should. More action, more monsters, and more style than the human eye can reasonably process. Guillermo del Toro takes what could have been a standard vampire shoot-'em-up and drenches it in gothic atmosphere, slick creature design, and the kind of weird biological detail that only he could dream up. His love for the grotesque bleeds into every frame, sometimes literally, and while some of those designs are stunning, others, well, let's just say, a few look like they are vaginas that exploded, and not in the fun way. The action sequences are still excellent, and while some of the early 2000s CGI hasn't aged gracefully, there's something oddly endearing about the Rubberman digital effects during certain fight scenes. Rather than distracting, they feel like a time capsule of an era when filmmakers were still pushing the limits of what digital effects could do, with a kind of earnest ambition that adds to the film's character. Narratively, it does stumble in spots, there's too much exposition, a few undercooked characters, and moments where it's just people standing around explaining vampire politics, but the pacing's brisk enough that it rarely drags, and the world building feels richer than ever. It's sleek, bloody, stylish, and unmistakably Del Toro, turning what could have been a disposable action flick into a weirdly beautiful monster opera. Yeah, I know, Pan's Labyrinth is at number 6. Somewhere, a film student just dropped their Criterion remote in shock. But hear me out. This is still a stunning piece of filmmaking. It's haunting, poetic, and visually breathtaking from start to finish. The writing is layered with symbolism, quiet tragedy, and a fairy tale logic that feels both timeless and cruel. Every moment feels handcrafted, from the flicker of candlelight on cracked stone walls to the eerie perfection of the pale man's dinner table. It's not just a story, it's a spell, one that lingers long after it's over. And yet, it never fully clicked with me on an emotional level. I can admire every ounce of artistry on display, and trust me, there's a lot to admire, but it's one of those films I respect more than I love. The practical effects are jaw-dropping, some of the best ever put to film, and the way they blend subtle CGI is so seamless, it's honestly sorcery. Every frame feels meticulously crafted, every creature brimming with personality and purpose. So while it's not a personal favorite, I completely understand why so many consider it Del Toro's magnum opus. It's a technical and artistic triumph through and through. I just happen to prefer his other nightmares a little messier, a little warmer, and a little more human. Hellboy is an absolute masterclass in style, direction, and world building. A film that balances gothic fantasy, dry humor, and emotional sincerity with near perfect precision. It's the moment where Guillermo del Toro's filmmaking voice fully blossoms, crafting a universe that feels alive, tactile, and beautifully strange. From the very first frame, you can feel the confidence radiating off the screen. The way he fuses pulp adventure with mythic melancholy, the way he finds beauty in grime and grandeur in monsters. This isn't a comic book movie trying to mimic its source. it's one that inhabits it. Del Toro doesn't just translate panels to film. He builds a living, breathing mythology that's equal parts Lovecraft, folklore, and Saturday morning cartoon. And it somehow all works. The pacing, tone, and character work are tuned like clockwork. Even the quieter moments hum with this weird, wonderful energy that keeps you hooked. It's stylish without being shallow, and witty without feeling cynical. The world building here is phenomenal. Every prop, costume, and corridor looks touched by history. You can practically smell the dust in the Bureau of Paranormal and Research Defense. It's the kind of movie where the visuals aren't just decoration, they are the storytelling. Del Toro's camera treats every creature like a sacred artifact, every shadow like a brushstroke. And the performances? Top tier. Ron Perlman isn't just great casting, he is Hellboy. He gives this giant red demon so much humanity, sarcasm, and heart that you forget you're looking at layers of prosthetic. Everyone feels practically in tune with the film's tone, that balance of humor and melancholy that Del Toro nails like it's second nature. There's genuine emotional weight behind the spectacle, a warmth that keeps the story from ever feeling cold or mechanical. Technically, Hellboy is near flawless. The practical effects are still jaw-dropping, tactile, detailed, and shockingly timeless. The CGI complements rather than competes, blending seamlessly into the world rather than sitting awkwardly on top of it. The lighting, production, design, and score all harmonize to create something distinct and immersive. A cinematic ecosystem that you just want to live in, preferably not near the tentacled parts. It's easily one of the best comic book adaptations ever made. Stylish, soulful, and uniquely Del Toro. It's proof that no matter how strange the world gets, there's always room for a little heart. This might be one of the most underrated films of the past decade. Like, I swear, if this had a Marvel logo slapped on it and Bradley Cooper wore a cape, people would not stop talking about it. But because it is a slow burn character study about greed, guilt, and the horrors of self-delusion, it kinda just came and went. Which is a crime, because Nightmare Alley is one of the most intoxicating, beautifully constructed films Guillermo del Toro has ever made. It is the cinematic equivalent of being lured into a sideshow tent and realizing halfway through the performance that you're the act. The first act moves deliberately, patient, atmospheric, and maybe a little unsure of itself, but once it finds its rhythm, it hypnotizes you. This movie doesn't rush, it lingers, watches its characters rot from the inside with patience of a saint. And that cinematography, good lord. Every shadow looks hand-painted, every glimmer of light feels like it's conspiring against you. It's film noir dipped in gold and then left to decay under a carnival tent. The performances are uniformly excellent. Cate Blanchett sings through the movie like a sentient cigarette. Rooney Mara is heartbreakingly restrained. And Bradley Cooper gives the performance of his career, as a man so convinced he's smarter than everyone else that he basically speedruns his own downfall. And the writing? Oh my god. The writing. This is dialogue that doesn't just sparkle, it cuts. It's razor sharp, cold, witty, and absolutely drenched in subtext. Every line feels like it's hiding a blade behind its back. Once the film hits its stride, listening to the characters talk feels like watching a chess match between sociopaths and romantics. Del Toro and Kim Morgan treat language like a weapon. Every word is measured, every exchange is dangerous. It's noir done right. Morally murky, psychologically rich, and just the right amount of doomed. And then there's the score. Nathan Johnson's absolute powerhouse of a soundtrack. It's haunting, elegant, and completely transportive. The kind of music that sounds like it's being played by ghosts in tuxedos. Grindel's Ghost in particular might be one of the best pieces of film music of the decade. A track that manages to capture beauty, deceit, and doom all at once. It's the sound of falling into moral quicksand with style. Nightmare Alley is a film that takes its time, but once it's got you, it doesn't let go. It's intoxicating, devastating, and impossible to shake. A near masterpiece of atmosphere and craft. It's Del Toro proving that monsters don't always need claws or scales. Sometimes they just need ambition, a sharp suit, and the belief that they are untouchable. Crimson Peak. Actual, well, peak. A gorgeously macabre gothic romance that proves Guillermo del Toro's command of visual storytelling is second to none. This is art direction, the movie. From the very first frame, the film oozes style and atmosphere. Every shot dripping with rich color, haunting detail, and precision. It's visually bold and completely confident in its tone, balancing elegance with unease in a way that almost no modern filmmaker even attempts. You can practically smell the candle wax and rotting wallpaper. The production design alone is jaw-dropping. The mansion doesn't just look alive, it breathes. You can hear it sigh in the walls, bleed through the floors, whisper through the red clay. It's less a set and more a gothic organism. Every frame could hang in a museum, but the kind of museum that's definitely haunted. This is Del Toro working at the absolute height of his craft, and holy hell does it pay off. The cinematography is sumptuous. The color palette dances between beauty and decay, and the camera moves with the grace of a ghost that knows it's being watched. Even if the story didn't work, which it does, I'd still rewatch this film just to stare at it. It's like being lovingly strangled by a work of art. But what really makes Crimson Peak shine is how it earns its melodrama. The writing is deliberately poetic, almost literally. But it never feels forced. Every line fits perfectly within its heightened dreamlike world where love and death share the same heartbeat. The pacing is deliberate, letting the story unfurl with a fever dream-like quality. You're not watching events unfold, you're sinking into them. It's a film that seduces you with beauty before quietly tearing your heart out. And the characters? Oh, they're tragic, layered, and deeply human. Mia Mike Wazowski's Edith is the perfect blend of innocence and quiet defiance, while Jessica Chastain is absolutely unhinged in the best possible way. Like someone gave the word repression a knife and told it to go have fun. Tom Hiddleston is heartbreakingly sympathetic, his performance full of quiet guilt and doomed affection. Together they create a story that feels classic and contemporary, all at once. A gothic love triangle where everyone's already halfway to hell. Besides Del Toro's newest, this is easily one of his most complete and breathtaking achievements. Crimson Peak is the definition of style and substance. It's not a ghost story, it's a story with ghosts. One that lingers in your head long after the credits roll. Beautiful and decaying in equal measure. I've already said all I could about this one. If you want my full thoughts, go watch the video that actually came out on time. You know, the one that was met with thunderous applause, critical acclaim, and absolutely nothing. Radio silence, tumbleweeds. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's great. Go watch the video, please. Isn't it funny? The one I think is the best is the only one that won Best Picture. I promise I'm not sucking up. But honestly, it's hard to argue with the perfection here. The Shape of Water is pure cinematic poetry. Heartfelt, meticulous, and achingly beautiful. A film so carefully crafted, it almost feels unfair to every other movie trying to do the same thing. Guillermo del Toro took what could have been a bizarre, offbeat premise and transformed it into one of the most romantic, emotionally resonant stories ever put to screen. Every frame glows with intent. drenched in color, texture, and that sense of dreamlike wonder you never want to wake from. The cinematography is fluid and graceful, moving with the story's own aquatic rhythm, while the performances are layered, tender, and deeply human. It's a film that reminds you why you fell in love with movies in the first place. What's remarkable is how effortlessly it balances fantasy with humanity. Themes of love, loneliness, and otherness are handled with such empathy that you feel seen no matter who you are. Del Toro finds beauty in the strange, making the surreal intimate and real. Alexandre Desplat's score is breathtaking, waltzing melancholy that mirrors the story's heartbeat, carrying every scene with elegance and emotional weight. Every note, shot, and line of dialogue feels deliberate, alive and in perfect harmony with the rest. And then there's the design. The sets, the lighting, the costumes, executed to an almost maddening degree of perfection. The world feels handcrafted, timeless, and steeped in nostalgia without tipping into imitation. The Shape of Water isn't just a great film, it's a masterpiece of tone, mood, and heart. Every element works together to tell a story that's universal, yet utterly unique. Simply put, it's one of the most beautiful romances ever made. A perfect, otherworldly love letter to cinema itself. And that's it! The full Guillermo del Toro ranking, from the wonderfully weird to the absolute masterpiece. Right now, I'm sick. So I probably sound a little different than usual, but hey, we're rolling with it. If you made it this far, thanks for sticking around, and seriously, if you have a suggestion for what I should rank next, or a movie you want me to dive into, drop it in the comments. Chances are I've probably seen it, because I'm a borderline psycho. But that's the fun part, isn't it? Until next time, keep watching movies, keep noticing the little details, and remember, if Guillermo del Toro made it, there's probably a monster, a moral, and some kind of heartbreaking beauty hiding somewhere in it.